Today we're still in our pillar of consistency, and it's been, it's a fairly abstract thing to think about, being consistent and how you put it all together. And I had a lesson with a client yesterday that I talked to them prior to them getting their puppy, and what do we need to be prepared for? What do we need to do? They already have a dog. That dog's not going to be in the same routines as the puppy. And so I sent everything over. We talked quite a bit, almost weekly for almost 4 weeks before they got the puppy, of just, on the phone, any questions that they had, revving up to this, getting a second dog. And I told them the most important thing is to stay consistent with everything that I send you and everything that we do. So the last thing that I sent them over was our crate training schedule. And that is so consistent. Like, there is nothing about that schedule that lets you deviate from it. And so it was really refreshing yesterday when I got there that the puppy was in the crate, he was eating in the crate, they had a leash on him when they brought him out. I mean, everything that was in that. And it was really nice because we were able to, move forward and start working on the training of the puppy, because they had spent a week being consistent with that crate training schedule. And it was really refreshing because that normally doesn't happen, because we let our own emotions get in the way, and then we're dealing with problems. Okay, you got to go back in the crate. This is what they need. This is how, So they were heading back to work this week, and so we just tweaked the schedule a little bit for them, and they're doing a great job, and the puppy is really falling into it. So today we're going to talk about, so you're getting a new puppy, or even a new dog for that matter, and the importance of staying consistent from day one of when you get it. And I think what rings true on Valentine's Day, Chris and I went to dinner, and we're really good friends with the owner of the restaurant, and they came and sat down with us and was stressing about their puppy, and it's peeing all over, and we think it's a diabetic, and on and like all these weird things going on. And I said, no, it just needs to be crate trained, and you need to be consistent with it, and that's something that you can't offer this dog right now in your life with all the restaurants that they own and that they're opening and everything else is happening. And so Valentine's night, I walked out of the restaurant with the dog. So, and she's here and being crate trained, and nope, she's not a diabetic. She just needed to be regulated, and she's doing well for the short amount of time that I've had her so far. So it's important to be consistent. It's important to follow those things. And so the fun thing that's happening is Michelle's got a puppy on the way in a couple weeks. And I have a puppy on the way, I'm hoping June-ish. So Michelle, let's talk about your journey and your experience and where we're at from here.
It's kind of funny that you brought up being the emotional side of things, because for years I've been giving people advice when they get puppies, right? Like that's what I genuinely am passionate about when it comes to being a trainer, is people getting the puppies or even the right dog and stuff like that is what I'd love to talk to people about.
Yeah.
The emotional side of things, I'm being so crazy. I'm being insane about it. Part of it is because me and Joe are going on this whole new adventure with stuff with the dog world and stuff that we've never done before.
Yep.
And I really feel like this new puppy is going to be my guinea pig.
Yep.
And so I have everything written down. It's getting to the point that it's kind of crazy. So that's actually why I wanted to talk to you guys about what you guys would give advice to people and stuff. So I'm picking her up on March 6th. Well, March 5th, March 6th. We fly back on March 6th, which is something I actually would love to pick your guys' brains about a little bit too. I am terrified of this plane ride. I've never flown with a dog.
Okay.
So Brandon went to get Murphy.
Yep.
And he said it could not have gone more smooth.
Yep.
He picked him up. The people at the airport were really amazing. They actually cleared the row, so he was the only one in that row. So Murphy actually got to sit on the seat. I mean, he was in a crate. But, this dog, the breed of dog we're getting, is a lot more vocal than Briards are. Mm-hmm. So be away from its mom and siblings for less than 24 hours when we get on this flight. Yep. So if any of you have any advice on what I should do in that, I should have her for one night, staying in a hotel room with me, and then most of the next day. We don't fly out till 5 p.m. the next afternoon.
Okay.
Of what I can do to make her sleep on the plane or whatever.
Yeah. So are you I'm gonna assume you're traveling in a soft-sided crate.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I think one of the most important things is immediately just start molding and shaping this routine of the crate.
Mm-hmm.
So even being in a soft-sided purse bag thing, it really is disciplining them when they're crying, not, committing to going outside in the hotel when you need to go outside. And then, my advice as far as traveling goes is I would spray lavender spray on their blankets and everything. And I don't know what the weather is going to be like back there. It's probably going to be a little on the chilly side.
I would think so.
And one thing that I would make sure is that the puppy doesn't get warm. That's really not like cozy, but it's better if you can keep the puppy cold,
Okay.
chilly, so they hunker down. So once they get settled in, and then they want to start warming up, so they'll just hunker down. And so, and if they get too hot, that's when they start getting agitated. So the planes are typically not cool in general. Right. And so, I know the airports here, it's not like you can just zip outside. But I would stay outside as long as you possibly can.
I do think that the Baltimore airport does have dog areas
inside
the airport. I looked it up. I think they do.
So what theirs looks like is it's almost like going into the restroom for people, and then in there they have the fake grass, and they have poo bags, and they have water that you spray the grass down. And
which I'm not normally crazy, but do you think it would be safe for her? Because she is only going to be, she will only have had one set of vaccines. But I guess it's probably a question for Shannon on that side of things.
I mean, I think they're probably fine. The thing with vaccines with puppies is puppies have natural immunity to stuff that they get from their mom. And as they get older, it starts to go away. And that's why that the veterinarian wants you to start giving vaccines, because as the antibodies that they naturally have go away, they're losing their immunity. But also, those natural antibodies interfere with the vaccines, which is why you have to give them a vaccine multiple times. So, since they're having these natural antibodies from their mother, I would say you're probably fine, and also probably all the other people in the universe that are going through the airport, dogs are vaccinated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm normally not this crazy about it. I really being so emotional about it, it's weird, so.
The other thing that you want to really be careful about and understand is I would call the Baltimore airport and understand what their regulations and what you need. Not just what the vet says you need with traveling, but you go through and they may say something different.
So it's really interesting. So I'm flying with Delta.
Okay.
And I have called 3 times and I got 3 different answers. So that was my plan, was to call. Honestly, the first time I called, they said I needed a health certificate from a vet, which okay, fine. Then I called my husband's uncle who works for Delta, and he said Delta doesn't actually require anything. Mm-hmm. And then, except for he said they do have to be 10 weeks old. And I was like, is there anything I need to prove that? And he was like, not that I'm aware of. So then I booked my flight, and I had to call back to reserve a spot for her, because that is something they said I have, because they only allow so many dogs on the plane. I had to call and reserve a spot for her. And that lady told me that I needed a rabies vaccine for her, and I was like, that's not actually even legally possible. She won't be old enough. So I don't know what I need, so that was my plan, was to actually. And I also need to double check that they really got her on the right flight, because both times I talked to them, they thought I was taking her to Baltimore, and I'm actually bringing her back from Baltimore. So I need to call back and make sure that she's booked on that flight as well.
Yeah. You're not traveling internationally, and so the rabies isn't going to be an issue. But if you were, it would be.
Right, and they can't go until they're 16 weeks if they're going international, which totally makes sense to me.
Yep. The typical is a health certificate, and a letter stating that the dog is not legally old enough for rabies vaccine. And so I would get a letter from the veterinarian just stating that this dog is healthy enough to travel, even though you do have a health certificate. There's been times that clients have had to have a letter from the veterinarian saying, yes, I signed the health certificate, and yes, this dog is healthy enough to travel and blah, blah, blah. So, because a lot of times they'll go, oh, it's the wrong breed, or, they don't, they're really super inconsistent. But I would try and get to the Baltimore airport and talk to an agent at the Baltimore airport.
Okay.
Because Delta is going to have their standard things, and depending upon where they're going to give you different things based on different. I mean, it's just like rabies. Yeah, you need rabies if you're traveling international. Obviously, they didn't care or listen to what that is.
Right.
She's being brought on as a carry-on. So yes, you need to let them know that you have a dog, but not for any other reason. So, the wrong flight is so weird to me that, I mean, they should just flag your name that you have a dog.
I know. It was very interesting talking to
Yeah.
them. Like, that was actually why I called my husband's uncle, because I was like, what do I really need? You know what I mean? And he told me something completely different. Both of them did. So
Right.
I was like, I know.
Right.
Who knows?
And it's all different if you're flying, if you're transporting underneath luggage-wise, because now you have to go through a transport company. Like, you can't just.
Right. They can actually, I was reading those rules too, and they're way different than carry-on. Like,
Way
they can actually be even younger than
Yeah.
10 weeks and stuff like, and I was like,
Yeah.
that makes no sense to me. Whatever.
Yeah, it's super crazy.
It is insane.
Yeah.
And I know Delta has had 2 different, like, pet policy, like, changes in the last year because of all the emotional support dog stuff that's going on.
Right.
So I don't blame them for being crazy
Yeah.
a little bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, I just need to know what I need.
Yeah. And usually at the end of the day, nothing's really done. I mean, they just scoot them on through and don't look at anything, and
Right, when Brandon went to get Murphy, he was like, they didn't need anything. They
Yeah.
didn't ask me for anything. They
Yeah.
literally were like, oh, you have a puppy, okay, you get the whole row.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
so,
And we, when I transported that dog over to Italy, we had to go through the transport company. They checked everything at check-in and to make sure everything is correct. And they really kind of shuffled me out of the picture because Delta would not, I should not even have been there. And so, but from that point on, nothing was checked. Even when they picked up, nothing was checked. So, it is hit and miss. Typically, I would say health certificate with a letter from the veterinarian saying
which the breeder has totally been really cool about it. And he's like, I will get it. So
yeah. So, and then really, if you can keep them, don't warm them up, don't let them snuggle in, wait for them to, last minute put them in there, keep them cold, but you don't want them to get too tired. And that sounds super mean to say, like, keep them cold. But even here, if I have a puppy that's having a hard time just sleeping through the night, like, they'll stay outside at 10 o'clock at night for a half hour. And that's what's helped regulate Lola, the little one out here, is if she's cold, we are down for the night. Like, she just hunkers in and she just hunkers in to get warm. So again, it's not like freeze the dog to death, but don't snuggle them in. Don't try not to make that connection of I'm your new person as much as here's the routine that we're going to have for the next 48 hours. And then when you get home, that's when connection happens and the fun stuff happens. But if you can kind of set those and be rigid at first, through that, spray some lavender, it'll help relax everybody else around you, if anything.
That's true. That's nice. It'll relax me, maybe.
Yeah, yep. And they typically do fine. Usually once they get in the air, they really...
Yeah, Brandon says Murphy slept both
Yeah.
of his flights. Like he screamed in the airport. Like,
Yeah.
Murphy was screaming in his crate, and while he was waiting to get on the plane. And then as soon as he got in and the engine started, Murphy just went to sleep. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that's what happens.
Yeah. I think it's important, Michelle, for you to get in that zone, in that place of kind of a job. Like, this is a job, you're picking up a dog for somebody.
Yeah.
So that your emotions aren't playing into, oh, what if it whines? Who cares if it whines? Like, who cares? I'm bringing a dog home.
Right. Yeah.
So you have to kind of put yourself into that zone of, I'm the trainer right now, and we'll get to know each other when we get home. And so that helps with your emotions and.
It is pretty funny how much emotionally attached I am into this dog. Like more than I've ever been to any of my dogs. It's very strange.
Yeah.
Like, which is not me. It's weird.
It's just a different time.
I think it really is. No, I really think it has a lot to do with how much time I'm investing in doing like research and stuff. Like I really do. Like, I think it's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Which is my next thing. You said that you had your last clients just do like a week of just the crate schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Because of all the stuff we're going into, I literally have from 8 weeks to 12 weeks, from 12 weeks to 16 weeks, like what I want that to look like and training and stuff. Do you recommend for the week 8 just being crate training, or right now I have that we're going to be doing offering behaviors as soon as she gets home, but I don't have to. Like,
I do. I mean, right. So what I like is people to get their puppies and have them for a week, so they can describe to me what challenges they have, and most of that's like scheduling stuff. And so where we already know what that should look like, so you should start working.
Okay, perfect. I have on her list to do a restraint down every day for the first 2 months. Do you recommend that? Like it really is like, and it is like week 1 is just a restraint down. Week 2 is that I'm going to use a pin brush on her. I'm being crazy.
No,
I know it.
I think that as we're heading into it, Melissa and I had this conversation yesterday about kind of where the business is going, where dog training is going, and what our big goals are. Is not just to, I don't want people to be lost. I don't want people to not know, what they should do in it, and I want it to be out there. And creating a process is really important, from you being our expert breeder and expert in finding dogs for people, so that we can put out that we have a process, that here's the process that we go through, here's the steps that we go through, here's what you need to do, here's how this works, and if you get a dog from us, here's what they've been through, here's what you should expect to training, to as a trainer and becoming a trainer, because that's where we're heading into, of how did you grow as a trainer, from learning, but also financial growth, and what that looks like, in creating a process, and it all comes down to staying consistent, having a plan. Because if you don't have a plan, from picking up a puppy to owning a dog to going into a breeding program that we're going to train dogs, to you going into a home and training a dog, what's the first thing that we do?
Well, meet the people that get the dog.
And then
Start working.
we create a plan.
Yeah.
Here's the plan. We have a plan in our head of how we're going to take this family through once we meet them, right? So we have a process. Here's our process that we go through. So I think it's important to have a plan.
Yeah.
Because then your emotions are more real about what's happening.
We're going to see how much this is going to be like me being a robot, though, because it's getting to that point. We're going to see if we're going to have the opposite problem with me. Because we have that with some clients, too, that we're like, okay, you can loosen up a little bit. We're going to see how this goes. And I'm actually really excited to see how this goes, because I really feel like with all of my dogs, it's progressively just gone that direction. Like with Rambo, he was free rein. I mean, we lived in a farm, we weren't supposed to have him, so he wasn't in a crate consistently because we didn't want him screaming. To Prudence, who was in a crate way more than she probably should have been because of where we lived at the time, but we weren't consistent about it because we didn't have a consistent work schedule. To Murphy, who I feel like I was fairly rigid with. To this puppy, though, that I'm like, I'm really excited to actually pick your brain with the actual schedule and stuff like that, like bring it and show you, because of what we're doing and stuff, that like. And I'm excited to do this with her to see where that goes with her. How different. And she's a totally different breed than we've ever had. They're supposed to be super outgoing, which I mean Cavaliers are too, but like my other 2 dogs are not outgoing in any way. So like I'm really excited to do that with her. And then I'm really excited in 5 years from now to get another Briard, because they are so hard, and take them through this program and see if it works for that breed too. Like I'm really I'm so excited for all of this. But I do feel like I'm being crazy.
I think what's hard, and some of the stuff that Melissa and I talked about yesterday, was we're back stepping into Melissa's process, and we're taking your process from the start.
Yeah.
And building it. So I think it's way different, because when you back into the process, you're like, oh yeah, I did this and this worked and this didn't work and this worked, and I don't know what I did here. Like, and you're thinking through where this is like, okay, we are following this, and then we're gonna find that, oh, I think I need to add this, or this wasn't quite right. But is it not quite right because it's the environment and the dog that you have, that in somebody else's situation or another dog,
Right.
it would work? So I think, coming full circle with it, Melissa, as far as talking to us about when you go into homes and the process and the plan that you put into place, how, what does that plan look like in general? And then what are some of the deviations that you've had to make with it?
Probably like the biggest deviation is time. Like, what are the client's schedules like?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of things, we see a lot of the similar themes pop up. They emerge in different behaviors in dogs, but there's a lot of the same behind the surface,
Yeah.
Probably the biggest one is whether I'm going to incorporate more quote-unquote games.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have clients that are uncomfortable with the idea of training,
Mhm.
so I have to disguise training things into games.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're like, oh, games are fun.
Mm-hmm.
They like games, they like tricks, but they don't know they're training their dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's mean to train, they think.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But others, it's like, no, I want discipline, and I don't want any tomfoolery.
Yeah.
I don't want fluff. And so
Yeah.
it's like, okay, we're going to be very black and white. This is the purpose. This is why we're doing it. Other people, I have to really disguise it.
So what advice would you give to Michelle starting at this point, working on a program, but having a dog that you've got goals with, that you've got, like, there's a direction that you want to go in. So let's have this dialogue here of you as a trainer coming into Michelle
Yeah.
and saying, okay, what's the goals? Go through that process. Like, I want to get into people's heads of what does the consultation look like, and then what advice would you give?
First off, I just have advice, just 'cause listening through it, and knowing your personality and how you train, and how you're very professional about things, and very like, I want to do this and I want to see the cause and effect. Probably my biggest advice, and you might think it's kind of fluffy and silly, but when you do the restraint downs, to make it a meditation for you.
That's good.
And not I'm going to do a restraint down because I want you to surrender and relax, but I need to do it too. I'm going to surrender. And I tell some clients, like, just close your eyes and breathe if you've had a busy day. I don't care what you think about, just count to 10 over and over. But I think for you, envisioning your relationship with her and what that is like, and what's it going to be like in 5 years, and starting to kind of take a step back a little bit and be Mom Michelle instead of always Trainer Michelle.
No,
if that makes
really,
sense.
No, actually, I love that advice. And I've never thought of even remotely doing that, but I think that's really good advice, because I actually hate doing restraint down. Like, I think they're very, very necessary, and I will do them, but I get really stiff about them, and it's really hard.
Yeah, this is kind of a little deviation, but I've found it's part of my daily routine with my dogs. They love it. They're like, woohoo, this is the time. And when I'm doing other clients' dogs, like, I get really into it. I put calming music on, I'll burn sage, and I'm like, I want to relax too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to make this, obviously most of the first restraint downs aren't as relaxing for us because we're trying to hold this dog down.
Yep.
But eventually it's when I see the soul of the dog. That sounds weird, but to have her not be a plan, but have her tell you the plan. That sounds kind of weird, but I think the research that you've done to find this breed, I would like to have more.
Oh, I think it's great advice, because I really feel like I'm being super rigid about it, even though I'm so excited. I'm so excited about this puppy, it's not even funny, but I really do feel like I'm being super rigid about it and weird, and everything has to be perfect.
Yeah, and I think
it's not going to be right. It's still a living thing.
And I think kind of incorporating your plan and writing this isn't working because da 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 da, and think of it as a good thing, and because that helps clients a lot. Like, oh yeah, something's not working, awesome.
Yeah.
I love when clients tell me something's not working, because I know, well, I don't love it,
Right.
because obviously I want stuff to work, but it means that we can figure out the dog a little bit more. The dog has something, not a secret, but I want to figure out. And so, kind of being more loosey about it.
I think it's really important just to add in here, like right now, because I'm just thinking about the breed we're getting and stuff, and it's so different than the other dogs we have. Like I really, like comparably probably closest to Rambo personality-wise, like is what we're getting because they're both Spitzy type breeds. But I've never dealt with like a really like happy-go-lucky dog. So I think it's gonna be really interesting, like because Murphy's type of training really is very stiff and rigid.
Yeah.
Rambo's can't be. His has to be somewhat fluffy. So this might be a huge challenge for me. I might be. I guess what I was gonna say is it's really good to tell people like, even if you find a trainer and it's not working for you, especially in this group, we can find somebody that will work for you.
Yeah.
Because I am a lot stiffer. Like I might be coming to you for advice because this dog might be like, I'm not doing that. Like because Murphy always has to be very like everything has to be black and white with Murphy. But where Rambo, I have to trick him into doing stuff all the time. So I might be coming to you for advice every day, Melissa.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Because they are definitely more bouncy and happy than any of my dogs, which will be interesting to see in my house how that turns out.
Oh, I think Rambo's gonna love it. Honestly, I don't know. That's just kind of
no, Rambo will be good. It'll be great. Prince is not gonna like it, but it's fine.
I think Murphy's gonna find it refreshing.
I do too. I think at first he's really gonna hate it, just because we really don't have a lot of puppies in our house.
Right.
And having another dog be in his face all the time.
Yeah.
June was in his face quite a bit, but she was very controlled about it.
Yeah.
Like she'd like to be in his face, but the second he growled, she would like, oh, roll over for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think the first month is going to be really interesting. After that, I think it's going to be. I think Murphy's just going to become a lazy house dog. I think he's going to love it.
Yeah.
Like he slowly is taking on that role anyways. How he's getting in the bed and stuff like that. At this point we can't keep him off the couches. Like it's not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
Like he's just decided that's where and it drives me crazy because like I will be asleep because I sleep on the couch a lot because I don't sleep well. And he'll come climb on top of me and I'm like, it is so hot and like Brandon really wants to buy a king size bed. I have a guarantee you Murphy's just gonna be like, oh now I get to be on the bed. Like
Oh for sure.
like there's room now? Okay. Like so I think he's gonna be super excited to retire in his old age and just be the cuddly one.
Yeah.
Which he's never been able to be.
Right.
So
right.
yeah, I think it'll be really good. I do have a couple more questions on it. How long do you want to go?
Yeah, no, let's do
it. Okay. This is actually more towards Melissa anyways. I have not started this research at all, but I have no idea. I know it's going to sound so silly because I have little dogs. I don't know what to feed a small dog puppy. Like it's been so long, and I don't think I really cared what to feed Rambo and Prudence when they were little. I did care a lot about Prudence because she got sick a lot, but it really was more finding what she could eat. I did so much research on a big dog on what to feed as a puppy. I have no idea. So if you have any advice, about food.
What I've researched with little dogs is less calcium and more iron.
Okay.
It was a very fascinating thing I found in research of finding food. Because a lot of the puppy food is they need extra calcium.
Yeah.
But it's really rough on their kidneys. And so that was just something interesting. I love researching this kind of stuff, and there's just a new study that they're like, oh, whoops. Turns out it's actually not good for puppies. So I go straight into adult food.
Which I did with Murphy, and actually I did it with Murphy because big dogs, I read, shouldn't have too much calcium, and they put a ton of calcium in large breed puppy food, which makes no sense to me.
Well, then they're bones.
Right.
But, I would go into adult food, and just see how it.
Higher iron.
Yeah, higher iron. That's hard to say. Higher iron. Adult food.
Is there any brands that you use? I mean, I don't even know if we want to get into that or if it really even matters. So right now, my dogs are all on just a regular adult food. They're actually on that. They're back on Blue Buffalo, and it's not that it's my favorite. Two of them just have really bad acid reflux, and I was like, there's no reason for two of my dogs to have acid reflux. Like that just seems, I'm feeding them something wrong for that to be happening. So I went to it because it's a super limited ingredient food. And it has seemed to help Murphy. Prudence is still kind of hit and miss, but
they are showing studies. I have been digging into food a lot more lately, just really digging and And they are finding that dogs truly need some grains and that grain-free is not healthy. But the problem is with dog foods out there is that it's unhealthy grains that they're putting in the dog food because it's cheap. And so then it becomes a filler, not a health thing. And so there is a new food, and I have a small bag of it. And if you want to take it, that's fine. I want to try it. I want to switch over, but I have too many dogs at my house that are eating what my dogs are eating right now, so I haven't switched over. And it's called First Mate. I think that's what it's called. And it is healthy grains in there, so you have more of the oats, the oat line of grains, and the more seed lines of grains, not your corn and the stuff that's hard to process. And so I'm curious, because they're finding that grain-free is really ultimately not healthy for our dogs.
Right.
It's heart-based. And so if you look at like the keto diet in human beings, they really have to regulate their blood. They have to check their blood. They have to make sure that their levels are good. Well, we don't do that with our dogs. Like, we're not checking how nutrition is impacting them. And they're finding that, dogs truly need balance, just like we do. I mean, the keto diet actually is very balanced in a different way, but you can have grains. And so I think it's fascinating, and I think it's important to put some grains back in. I think it's better for their tummies. And I think that's what they're finding is that they need that.
I was actually helping a friend whose dog was having health problems, and we switched to First Mate.
Did you?
Yep.
Yeah.
She was having a lot of stomach issues
Mhm.
and absorption.
Yeah.
I love to cook different things for my dogs, or I love mixing ingredients, and Joe knows this with the horse. I love the concoctions.
I know, it drives me nuts.
I know. I love it.
What are you doing?
And so because I'm picky on what grains I want to feed my dogs, I cook a batch of grains on every Sunday, and I add it to their food. So oats or whole organic, brown rice, I try to be very careful on. And adding it to it, and having a food that doesn't have a lot of different protein sources.
Yeah.
Finding that one protein, so if they react to that, it's not one of 8 proteins you don't know.
What else?
There was something else, and I don't remember what it was, you guys. There really was. As I was talking about food, I was like, how do you ask about this? I don't remember.
Shannon, what's your overall take on all that?
Well, I just want to go back, just take a little step back to the food, about why corn is bad for dogs, because it's something we say all the time, and it's a science-based thing. It's not just like that we don't like corn, right?
Right.
In your dog's digestive system, they have to have the enzymes to break down all the proteins in the food to get the nutrients out of it, right? So if you're feeding them, whatever you're feeding them, their digestive system has to have that. Their digestive system does not have the enzymes that break down the parts of the corn. So all they do is just poop it all out and get no nutritional value from it. And that's because of the cellular design of the cells of corn. Your dog's digestive system doesn't have the enzymes in there to break it up. And that is why we say that. Like all of this is stuff you have to think about when you're feeding your dog.
Right.
Is how are they getting the nutrition out of the food?
Yeah. And I think I firmly believe that that's why we have such severe poop eating. Is we have changed their diet pretty drastically in a short amount of time, and their systems haven't caught up to it. So they're pumping out a lot of nutrients that other dogs are going, oh, this is good. I mean, it seems super gross, but that's what I think, and that's why I think that poop eating has been on the rise
for the last 5 years, because in the last 5 to 10 years, we have drastically changed the outlook on dogs' diet and changed how we preserve it, and all of that. And so I think that I think nutrition is important. I think you have to keep it real. You have to keep it holistic in a way that if human beings were not around, they would be eating grains out of the stomach of a rabbit or a bird or, you know, something. So I think it's important. And you know, back to the corn thing, you know, cows can have corn because they have 4 stomachs, and it takes 4 stomachs to process that stuff down to get all the nutritional value out of it, and they're designed that way. So, not saying that our dogs wouldn't get corn in something that they killed, but it's not going to be a ton of it. They're not going to seek that out. So, I think as we come, you know, full circle, Michelle, is there anything?
There was actually one more thing, but
yeah.
we can.
No, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
So and this actually will go back to consistency more than like the food stuff,
Yeah.
which I mean, your food should be consistent.
Yep.
If anything, that should be one thing you can be consistent
Yeah.
about. But is socializing time.
Yeah.
That is like the biggest like thing that I'm having a hard time in my plans of every day of what the puppy should be doing.
Yeah.
Of how much I should be doing, when I should be doing it, like just, and that really comes back to, it's funny with the food too, how you said in the last 10 years, it's changed a lot. I mean, when I did all this research for Murphy, that would have been 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
is so back then it
Yep.
was, you do not feed grains at all. Like,
Right.
And I mean, not that raw's not a thing now, but raw was huge when I was doing that, which
Yeah.
Murphy was on raw when he was a puppy for a while. And then it just got too expensive because he's huge, but so the socializing stuff, like I really feel like it's even changed a lot on how we think of it in the last 10 years. Especially myself, because I come from a doggy daycare, which I'm totally 100% against. But when Murphy was a puppy, it was, yeah, let's do it. Let's take him everywhere. Let's go to the dog parks. I mean, Murphy went to dog parks till he was a year old all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that with this puppy, but like I really don't know what direction to go in it when it comes to being consistent with socializing, especially with people.
So general rule is for their age, you like, okay, so 8 weeks old, they should be exposed to 8 new people and 8 new environments in that week.
In a week. Okay.
And then so 9 weeks you would stay, you know, you would introduce 9 new people, 9 new. So at the end, they should be exposed to 30 people, 30 different environments is kind of the gauge of that in general.
Okay. Do you have any advice on how to do that besides for just like, oh, people coming over?
Yeah, I had a client. She's a competition person with her dogs, and she was super fun to follow, and I mean, she went to fire departments and let the guys meet the dog. She would go to she went to the mall. And it was just like not forcing necessarily, but exposing. And if people wanted to pet, obviously your hand should always be on your puppy and should not always be picked up, even though they're going to be little. But helping them sit and molding through that as people are touching and petting, and not picking up bad habits through it. Because, I mean, the fire department and the firefighters, you know, she's like, well, they're all big guys. They're all like these big, muscular guys. And they're all super soft and squishy. And so that was her, like, thought process with it. And then the loud noises and the sirens. And it was just like, that's, you know, and you can just walk in the front door and go, hey, do you guys want to pet my puppy? And that's what you do. She just walk in. And and then her friends, and then at training, she really took that dog everywhere. So it was in its crate. It was still on the road with her. You know, when she would go to training with her other dogs, it would be tied out. Everybody would come and, you know, pet it. And so, you know, for her, she got creative that way. She didn't go to dog parks. She's not like out hiking or anything. But she competes in agility. And so she has that agility group that you know is touching and petting and all involved in that as well. So healthy environments as you entertain, you know, having the puppy out and letting people pet, not necessarily picking up, but giving treats and petting and that type of thing is very appropriate.
Is there a way that you tell your clients to be consistent about it? Because I have time on I feel really fortunate with this dog too. Like my schedule right now really allows me to pretty much do whatever I want.
Yeah,
Like when
yeah.
it comes to this dog, like,
Yep.
which, and me and my husband are in a really good spot, like financially, that like that part of it's not a problem right now.
Right.
So I feel really fortunate with this dog, and maybe that's why I'm being a little bit more crazy about it.
Sure.
Because I can be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where like Murphy, I still was working, you know,
I
5 days a
think
week and
it's-
stuff.
I think, Michelle, what's important is to commit in your plan where are you going to go, and get out the door every day and do it.
Okay.
That I think is what's so hard is, I mean, this time of year for us with the weather being icky and it's just easier to be in and to train and be a little bit more protective of them, that it should be, I'm going to get out and this is where I'm going today and commit to it. So that I'm going to go sit at the coffee shop. I'm going to go here and commit to it. I think the other hard piece to it is you now have to open yourself up and be vulnerable out in public.
Which is so hard for me. Hence why
support the
Murphy is
dog.
the way he is. Like,
Yeah.
it was
Yep.
much easier for me just to let him be a jerk and be like,
Sure.
sorry, my dog doesn't want to say hi to you.
Yeah, because I don't either.
Yeah.
So you have to be a little bit more open. Take the dog trainer piece out of it so you're not so protective. And be open to people
This might be Brandon's job.
randomly.
My
touching
social
your
time
dog.
is after Brandon gets home. Like, that's where it is on the schedule. So it might be Brandon's job to take the
Yep.
puppy out and do
Yep.
stuff like that.
Yeah. And those are the important things, you know, not necessarily going out searching for people, but going to places that people will come to you because they want to pet and not be, you know, go to Home Depot. When I go to Home Depot with dogs, it's very structured. I'm closed off.
Right.
You know, we don't want people to create bad habits. But with the puppy, great place to go to be open. Yeah, you can pet my dog. Yeah, let me have her sit first. Or this is how you would do it. And educate people you just have to be open. And I think that's one of the hardest things in general with people to stay consistent is if you dread going out to do that, you're not going to do it.
Right.
So you have to be vulnerable. You have to be open to that process and being okay with it.
Okay.
And it's not an easy thing to be consistent with. Because we're all protective of our dogs. We tend to close them in because they're ours. And I'm just as guilty of it. So,
It's going to be fun. It's going to
Yeah.
be a good
yeah.
experiment.
So, I
with
mean,
everything.
really, if Brandon's the social one, that's great. But that puppy needs to see that from you.
Yeah, no, for sure, absolutely. I agree. And I'm just like with Murphy, I think he's a great example of that. If Brandon has the leash, Murphy is a total friendly
Yeah,
dog.
yeah.
When he's with me, he's not. And I know it's my body posture and the way I am. And like people
Yeah.
approaching us and me getting stiff versus Brandon's like, hey, you know, like
Yeah.
it
Let
is
me
a
talk to you
definitely
about my dog. Yeah.
different feeling. Brandon loves to talk to people about Murphy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
I hate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many times can I tell you he's a Briard?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, he's not a doodle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I brush him 3 hours a week. Like,
Well, and I think that comes from the trainer in us
Yeah.
too, that we're a little bit more rigid. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Shannon. You had to do a lot of crazy stuff with Louie because you got him the day he came out of mom's tummy. And so you had to play such a different role in his life, but there were things that you had to do to step out of your bubble to get what you've got from him.
So I made a calendar. I actually sent Michelle my calendar to base her her calendar on, and like that's really what you just have to do is say this is the focus of what we're doing this week, and that's what we're doing, and while still trying to be consistent with everything else you're working on. But I think it's easy to get overwhelmed to be like, oh, there's all these things I have to do. And that's where making like a calendar can help you, because then your focus for whatever you put on the calendar is just that day. And then another thing that was helpful for me is I made it a Google Calendar, and then I shared it with my family so that everyone in the family knew, because, you know, my husband was there, and then my sisters lived like 2 houses down the street from me, so they basically lived at my house during this time. And so all the people would know what we were working on so that it was like this giant group effort. I personally feel that I'm an extreme introvert person. and when your dog, my goal for this dog, because bulldogs can be aggressive and be mean to people, and he's really, really cute. He's so cute that people would just come up and kiss his face, you know? So my goal for him was to meet 100 people. You know, that's a lot of people to meet with your puppy. 100 people, and I think 30 or 50 dogs, I can't remember, because I was worried about that he didn't have a dog mom to teach him rules of being nice to people and dogs, that was my responsibility, that the volume of it was going to be what was going to help him, you know. But yeah, that's a lot of work to meet 100 people, and you have to plan like where you're going. But the cool thing about it is people like puppies. That's what makes it easy. All you have to do is show up anywhere with your puppy and people will want to meet him. You know what I mean? And then just be like, nice. Oh, your puppy's so cute. Well, that's a nice thing for people to say. And you can just be like, yes, we think he's so cute. He really likes, to shake. Let him show you. And if your tiny puppy can shake, then people are like, oh my gosh, he's so cute. You know what I mean? And you can teach a little puppy. We started training him when he was really little, and he could sit and down and stay and whatever, like when he was 6 weeks old, So it's not ever too early to start teaching them to do stuff, but you make these focuses. This is what we're focusing on doing now, and we do our best to do that one thing. And then the next week is a new focus, and then you do your best to do that thing, and not get overwhelmed with, oh my gosh, if I don't do all of this stuff in these weeks, my dog will be ruined, which for me was the case. If I didn't do that stuff with my dog, he would have been ruined. And my whole thing with getting him from the womb basically was for him to be with me, he should have the best life that he possibly could and be the most normal dog that he possibly could. And so that was really my goal in doing all of this crazy stuff, was what can I do to help this dog be the most normal he possibly could. So, and I think I succeeded. so it's a big accomplishment. But if you look at it, all the steps all together, it can seem overwhelming. But if you just take it these little steps at a time and plan it all out, it makes it a lot easier.
I can seriously, going through this, it really gives me sympathy for people that are getting puppies.
Yeah.
Because I really am fortunate, and I do have the time, and we're getting her at a perfect time of year that she still can go in the car and be in a crate if I have to go in somewhere, which is so nice.
Yep.
There's all these things that actually are lining up perfectly for us. So I just want all of our clients to know we know it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yep. Yeah, we as trainers still struggle. I think Melissa struggles the least out of all of us with it all. Because I think there's value to footloose and fancy free is the best way for me to describe it. And I think there's value to that. And I don't have that to offer. I have to try really hard, woo, kind of. It just, Shannon and I have these conversations. She gets asked all the time questions, and people don't talk to me. And so I think you just naturally are vulnerable, and I think you naturally have fun in such a different way that Michelle and I are very much so more rigid, and Shannon is just forced into other things that's just randomly weird. So you get forced into things because that's just that's what the world does to you, which I find it very fascinating. What were you asked at the grocery store?
Oh, yeah. I was at the grocery store buying, so I went the day after Valentine's Day, and the grocery store had these really cool dinners that was all the stuff for Valentine's Day so you could eat at home and not go out. And I was like, well, this is just me every day, not just Valentine's. So I bought some of them. So I had the dinner for the week. I go to the checkout, and the guy's checking it out. Oh, are you having Valentine's tonight? Yes, la la la. Are you a photographer? I'm like, no.
I'm
What?
not. I don't know. He just asked me if I'm a photographer. I'm like, no, I'm just buying dinner, at the groceries like normal people at the grocery store do. But so I don't know. People ask me stuff all the time like that. They've asked me, am I a dancer? I get that asked a lot. Am I a ballerina? Am I a dancer?
Really? That's
Someone asked
fascinating.
me before if I was a professional swimmer because I have swimmer hair. I'm like, yes, I do. It was before it was purple, but I mean, it was more bleached. So I guess, I don't know, maybe it looked surfery or something to them. But yeah, people just will ask me, oh, are you a swimmer? No. I'm a computer person. I don't know what I am.
Funny. That's so funny. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, Chris gets talked to like that a lot, and even at the hunting show when we went, it was so randomly not us. It was just funny to be there because that's not who we are. But we saw a lot of friends there randomly. But people, nice beard, sir. Oh, you have a nice beard. Oh, whew. And then they're like, oh, so, we're looking at this booth and people are like asking him questions about the furs, like the quality of the furs and how do they get the beaver pelt to feel like this one, this beaver pelt's like, and he just goes into it like totally like into it. And the guys at the booth are like, oh, we should just hire you. People talk to you all the time. And these are these gruff old funny men that, and, but people don't do that to me.
They don't do it to me either, but I think they probably do. I just don't, I shut it down before they get any farther. Like, the guy at the grocery store probably would have been like, is this for Valentine's? I'd been like, yep. And then you'd probably been like, okay. Moving on, lady.
Yeah. And that's so, I think that, all of us bring something, to it where Melissa's just, people really look at Melissa as this adventure. Life is so good. Like, life is so incredibly free. And I think that is, it all transfers to our dogs and what we have to bring. And I think that we have to be careful to go, okay, I need to be more structured. We need structured Melissa. We need not happy. Happy's not the right word, but we need the, who cares, Joe? We need the Michelle that, when you have a bottle of wine, that it doesn't matter, and
I have a lot of anxiety. I know it.
So, because it reflects onto our dogs,
Oh, look at my dogs.
Yeah.
And Prudence is the only example of that that's not that way. And it's because
Yeah.
she's Brandon's dog and
Yeah.
she always has been. And she is totally 100% his dog.
Yeah.
The other two are way more anxious.
Well, and Chianti's totally Cheyenne. She's totally Cheyenne. And that's probably why she's my soul dog, because she's totally Cheyenne.
Yeah.
So I think we have to be careful when we're setting the goals that we have to bring out another person. Not lie to your dogs.
It will be interesting with this dog because
Yeah.
I was telling Brandon last night, I want this dog to be stupid, outgoing, and happy.
Yeah.
Because we've never had that, and that's what Brandon wants so bad
Right.
in a dog.
Right.
And I'm gonna be the one doing all the training because
Yeah.
I'm home all the time, right?
Right,
So I'm
right.
gonna be the one with that dog all the time.
Yeah, you
so
have
it is
to
gonna be really hard for me.
Handle that inner Brandon.
Yeah.
This is a good example for Louie, because every time we met someone, I was like, ooh, don't bite them, don't bite their face, then it would have put on him, we get worried when people come up to us. And so we had to have this, kiss my dog's lips. I think that's insane that people come and kiss my dog's lips, because I would never go up and kiss a dog. But as going and taking him places, I had to be like, oh, sure, you can just kiss his face, whatever, And that is so not me at all. But you have to be that person to get that result in your puppy, which is so weird. It's really, really weird. But it's what you have to do.
I think it's funny I raised my hand. I'm like, excuse me. Excuse me. May I speak? A couple of things I did. So as much as I love just weirdness and adventure and just being weird, I get a social weirdness. I hated going into public. Going to the mall is my nightmare. That is my hell, is a mall. But Yuki, I wanted her to go out and meet people and see people. So Nick and I would say, what is the weirdest breed that people guessed she was? So I would go out wanting people to talk to me about her because I wanted to win the bet. I wanted to get the weirdest thing because the loser had to cook dinner. So I was like, I need to get some weird responses for this. So I had a totally different energy and going into the stores, like City Creek Mall is a great place because workers at the store, they want any excuse not to work. So they want to pet your puppy. Another thing that I do to get more serious with my dogs, I put their collars on when we're training. And they act different. They're like, oh, this is on. Okay, we're either going somewhere or training. But also for me, that like signifies visually too, like this is work time. You have your uniform, quote unquote. When we're out, just kind of, and I want to be more carefree, we put bandanas on them. That's kind of like, oh, you look cute. And I'm very visual that way. So I'm like, this is you go be a dog. Go run. Like when you go out in the desert, I'm not training structurally. Like, I want you to go be a dog. I want you to roll in the dirt. Here's your bandana. So if like, getting a little bandana, finding something that signifies visually, this is spunky Michelle.
This is when you need to calm down.
No, you need to get a bandana
Have a glass
with
of
my
wine before you
face
go out.
on it.
Yeah.
Just my face, just pointing.
So it's gonna
Saying
happen.
relax.
Awesome.
Get one that has a question.
Oh.
Like, get something that your dog can wear that has a question.
Ooh, yeah.
Ask me about whatever, and people will come and ask you stuff.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Murphy actually really does have a sign that says, I am a Briard. What is it? Like, it really is. It's really funny. It's like, I am a Briard. It's a French sheepdog. I'm really friendly, but only if you ask my mom. Like,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
We used to put it on him all the time because I really got sick of people being like, what kind of dog is it?
Yeah.
Can you spell that for me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think all of this is great. And I think, just to wrap it all up, these are all things that you just have to be consistent. Like it's having a puppy is about consistency in everything that you do, whether it's your social plan, whether it's your training plan, whether it's your crate plan, it's all about being consistent. And I think this is, to end our consistency pillar, I think that this, you just can't say enough that this is where it all starts and not just in having a puppy. You should do this when you get your rescue. We're going to go meet this many people. It should all be the same. It shouldn't matter. It's new to you, so make it a new adventure and stay consistent with them because that's where they thrive.